It's a lovely evening, 7th of June this evening. So I thought it's high time that, despite the less than ideal conditions for moth trapping, I returned back to Misson Carr. It's been 3 weeks since I last trapped. Another absolutely beautiful sky. A Misson Carr kind of sky. The sun is on its way down. It's behind the cloud now. The cloud, I think, is forecast to come in a little bit, but we don't anticipate rain here tonight. And this is the private access track down to Misson Carr. It's strictly permit only, this site, and it's a wonderful site. I love coming here, I must admit. I enjoy the ride up here, and I enjoy the ride going back home too. Misson Carr is also the home to Nottinghamshire's biggest mosquito population, Aedes rusticus. But this place is full. Even the farmers here use mosquito repellent. I just rely on my natural charm. It's nice and sheltered here. There's a little bit of a breeze. It's only a light breeze, but I'm probably going to go to the other side of the gates as normal. But I am here early, so I've brought a net with me, and hopefully we may well see a few micro moths along this access track while waiting for the sky to darken. It could be a really decent night. Should be a good species list. It's not the most ideal conditions, but it's a case of needs must. We're on the 7th of June already, so we're just heading into the second week of June. Before we know it, summer solstice will have come and gone, and we'll be heading into July and August. So even if conditions aren't ideal in terms of temperature, it is forecasted to go down to about 13 or 12, something like that, so more than okay. We should get a decent selection, but it's a case of having to come out because the moths are going to be there. I just need to be here to catch them. Well, 10 o'clock or 2200 hours and we're off and running. A light breeze, but that shouldn't stop the moths from coming in. And hopefully we'll be in for a good session. Well, we just started. One good thing is it attracts all the local mosquitoes, which are not as bad actually as they have been or likely to get the next time I come and trap here. We're just awaiting the first of the moths to drop by, and we'll see what we can get. I don't know how much actual video footage I'll be doing. Depends what comes in and how many of them comes in. I'm quite looking forward to this. Half an hour gone, and a nice range of species come in that half an hour. Nothing particularly unusual or particularly exciting. I've got one pug potted up which I need to take back and have a look at under the light of day. But of the moths that are in, they're all fairly common, and one particularly is one of my favourites. It's an absolute beautiful moth, and it's barred yellow. I think everybody loves barred yellow. It's common, and thankfully so. Absolutely beautiful moth. For the other species that are in, we've had a brimstone in, a couple of marbled minors and middle barred minor. Snout, first one of the year. Snout is an attractive moth, especially when fresh, and very appropriately and aptly named actually, because of the extremely large palps just at the front of the head. And of the micros that are in, Crambus lathianellus is the first of the year's crambids to come on the wing, but not a lot else in terms of exciting species. But lots of flies, and that annoying nagging breeze is quite prevalent at the moment. It's blowing the sheet, but it's not stopping the moths from coming in, and the darker it continues to get, the more will come in. In the meantime, I need to write down a couple more species which have just arrived at the sheet, and then it's time for a cup of tea. Have to get your priorities right, you know. Well, here's the first of the moths that have landed in a situation where I can actually get to video them, and have stayed there when I've plonked the light on them. This is a green pug, one of the moths that really shows its coloration really well under NV light. You take these home thinking they're going to look marvellously green in the light of day, only to find they're quite disappointing. This one is a very fresh specimen. They're just starting to come on the wing now, and it's one of my particular favourites, and this is one of the few pugs that you can identify with reasonable success. Nice little thing. New for the year, obviously, and very obliging too. A lovely little moth, green pugs, and common. Most people will turn one of these up if they trap in an urban or suburban garden. So that's green pug, one of an increasing number of moths that are coming in now. Well, the breeze, if anything, has gains in strength, so I'm having to hold this sheet back a little bit. It's really sort of billowing out. Maybe the best idea would have been to have had the sheet flat on the floor, but we're still getting moths. Anyway, we're over 30 species now, and we're just an hour and a quarter in. No idea how long I'm going to trap for this evening. It will depend on the conditions, but we're doing quite well for micros actually. It's quite pleasing, the number of micros, but nothing real rarity status, at least on a county level as yet. However, knowing this place, that could all change, but as I said before, it's not about rarities here all the time. It's the sheer variety of species that we get here. Lots of mosquitoes on the sheet at the back of the light, so we'll see what comes in the rest of this second hour. But that breeze is nagging. I didn't think it would get to this sort of strength, but hopefully it should die down again. There's a light emerald flying around. It's generally common species that are in. Several species of pugs now, but we're not doing bad anyway. And the temperature, the last time I looked, was down to 13. Not the ideal conditions for one of those real Misson Carr nights. Well, if I trap till dawn, I won't catch a better looking moth than this one. This really is a wonderful species, and thankfully it's common too, so a real bonus. This is of course barred yellow. It's a species that you'll trap in most urban or suburban gardens, but certainly from more rural locations you'll catch this quite regularly. It really is an absolute beautiful species, even when it's being walked on by some parasitic wasp. What a super thing. No matter how many times I see this species every year, it always brings me joy, this beautiful, beautiful moth. If it was extremely rare and looked like this, this would be the moth that they all wanted to catch. But we'll have to make do with it being common. What a shame that is. It's a stunning moth. Absolutely beautiful. While this is sat here like this, and unless it gets disturbed, I'll show you this, because this is a blood vein. It's not a moth that tends to do this a great deal. Often quite flighty and never usually settle down much. But this one's slightly worn. They are more contrastingly marked, but the main feature is that beautiful sort of dark pink line that crosses all four wings, and then of course the rear edges of the forewing and all around the hind wings are edged in pink. A very attractive moth. The ground colour is that lovely straw colour. Fairly common, will turn up at MB Light in smallish numbers, but a very nice moth all the same. Quite unique amongst the British fauna. Very attractive species, and say it's rare that one ever settles on the sheet for any length of time. So that's blood vein, another moth quite appropriately named. It's a struggle. That breeze has developed a bit more, if anything. It's persistent as well. We're not getting any sort of periods where there's very little or no breeze. It's quite persistent and continuous. It's also cool. Temperature's just gone down to 12. It's been 13 for ages, and it's now dropped down to 12, but it feels cooler than that. The moths are coming in steadily. No big numbers of anything. Decent numbers of micros though, which makes a nice pleasant change, but in terms of species, nothing particularly interesting or out of the ordinary. No hoped for rarity. Well, conditions clearly aren't helping the situation this evening. As a consequence, I think I'm going to call it a day. It's 12:15, which means I've been trapping for 2¼ hours. I think it's a better idea to come back again when conditions are better than what they are. But I never dreamt there would be this breeze. It was only a light sort of 10-mile-an-hour breeze that they were forecasting, but at times it's definitely stronger than that. It hinders moths coming in, makes it uncomfortable as well, and you can see with the breeze affecting the sheet how it is. I think what I'll do is call a halt to this session, so it'll be a steady pack up just to see if anything else does drop in, and we will return at the next suitable evening. It's still been an enjoyable session though.